So welcome to the stage, Ronan.
For the past 3 months, we've watched the good summer weather that we started out with fade away. We started a nice 80-degree heat. We would be showing up to iPro in shorts, maybe hitting the beaches on the weekends. And slowly but steadily, and sometimes quite rapidly, or at least more rapidly than we'd want, the weather got cold. It was in the 20s. I think at one point it was maybe in the low 10s, low teens. And this weather is just not pleasant at all. So if I could travel anywhere right now, it would be somewhere warm. I'm thinking Cancun just because my friends are booking spring breaks, but I'd like to travel there for 3 reasons. The first, the woman. The second,
Leave that.
the carefree experience that I would probably get, somewhat similar to the one I just had on Thanksgiving break and the one I'm looking forward to on winter break. And finally, because it would be sunny, of course, and it would be warm, and I'd be able to wear my summer clothing again, and I could maybe turn a little red, match the color of my current t-shirt, and overall it would be a fantastic experience for me.
Nicely done.
I was looking at this time and I was confused.
Feedback for Ronan?
Bonus for comedy.
I thought you were actually able to pause, and even though it's kind of in this joking setting a little bit, you pause without filling it with ums or filler words for the most part.
I definitely used 2 ums.
But I noticed there were a
yeah.
few times where you actually just were quiet. You
Yeah.
weren't sure what to say, and so I thought even though you were kind of like had a smirk on your face, it was admirable that you were able to pull that off.
Yeah, I thought that was really good on the fly. I think my only comment was you didn't really anchor.
No, I didn't
Yeah.
at all. It was like, I got the topic, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And I knew I could set it up with the start, but I did not know how to talk about like 3, or how to use 3 anchoring points for it.
Yeah.
And it was like really hard to come up with as I was speaking to.
Yeah.
So I just lost it.
Yeah. No, nicely done. I think for the next person, I want you to start by saying, I want to talk about 3 things. The first one is, and then just jump into it. Okay?
You mean, what do you mean
To
for
force yourself to, like,
in the
definitely
speech?
enter
Like
it.
the beginning of the speech?
Beginning of the speech,
Okay.
this is my topic. I'm going to say 3 things about it. The first one is this, an anchor.
Okay.
Okay? And remember, it just has to be tangentially related, because this can be kind of hard.
All right. In my speech, I'm going to talk about 3 wonders of the world. First, I'm going to talk about the Great Wall of China. Then I'm going to talk about the pyramids in Egypt. And lastly, I'm going to talk about
James Lee.
Halsey. So first is the Great Wall of China. 1,000 years ago, or probably longer, the Huns invaded China.
I like it.
Is that not? I don't know. And so the Chinese built this massive, hundreds of miles long wall from ocean to mainland to inland to ocean. And I think that is absolutely wondrous. Next, let's talk about the pyramids. Again, fuck you. 3,000 years ago, they built these.
Keep going.
They built these massive pyramids. I don't even know how they got those stones up there. Finally, I'm going to talk about the modern day wonder, Halsey. Just look at his magnificent hair and tell me that it isn't wonderful. Thank you.
Nicely done. Stay up there. How do you think that went?
Anchored. Otherwise, horribly.
And you anchored well, right? You did your 3 things, and then you referenced back to it. So it was nice that you said these 3 things, and you were a great wall. Halsey. Yeah. Feedback from the audience?
I think the list didn't quite make sense because like one of them was like much better than the other two.
The China one.
Halsey,
They go in China. From the ocean to inland, back to ocean.
Okay, nicely done. Well done, well done.
You have this one.
Should we do the warm-up dance?
If you want, yeah.
Okay, I still got the instructions card. So I'm going to talk about what my life will be like in 10 years. And I'm going to cover 3 aspects of my life. First, my professional life. Secondly, my personal life. And third, my extracurricular life. So, firstly, I want to talk about my professional life. The Economist, on February 30th of this year, wrote that most doctors are not going to be actual practicing physicians, and that this will actually perpetuate the shortage of physicians that we have in America. I see myself as somebody who is firmly committed to becoming a clinician. So I think that as long as I stay on that path, in the next 10 years, I will probably be starting a practice and starting to actually have complete autonomy over my practice as a physician. In terms of my personal life, I really want to have a lot of pets. I want to have a dog, maybe a cat, and maybe something more exotic, like a parrot. And finally, getting to my extracurricular life, I want to continue to explore my passions, which include food and traveling. I also enjoy the ocean, both being on the ocean and being on the beach. So I hope that when I'm not taking care of my pets or taking care of patients, I will be right by the water.
Nicely done.
Alright.
How do you think that went?
You know, when I was initially setting up the divisions, I didn't really think about how to do that, so that kind of messed with my game plan. But
That was really good. I like
That was pretty good,
Yeah.
yeah. Well done.
I thought
Yeah, I
Anchor
like
was
that.
excellent.
Yeah.
Really, we're really strong.
And I don't know if
As
you
one-
bend it too, but you also you move your body a little bit too, as well as your
Use
hands.
evidence
That was nice.
also.
evidence,
Yeah,
February
you-
30th.
There was
right.
one suggestion or thought I had at the start. Maybe James can also weigh in on this, but like when you started, I almost wanted you to make it to ask us what we thought our 10-year thing would be, and then be like, here's my jam, rather than like starting being like, I want to tell you about like my 10-year plan. It's like I almost wanted you to be like, what's your 10-year plan? Here's mine. Like,
Right.
rather than
Yeah, I
To, like,
definitely
give
want
us
to
more,
incorporate
yeah.
seed more into future talks. But yeah,
That was
that's
awesome.
really good
Yeah.
advice.
Really well done. Yeah, so I didn't mention this earlier, but like bonus points if you can come up with some way to incorporate a seed. I think it's kind of hard to do like on the spot with anchoring, but if you want to do that, go right ahead. So Albert, please welcome to the stage, Albert.
That's been on YouTube forever, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Fuck. Can never run for office now.
that's your like Trump bus.
Okay, so in the next minute, I'm going to tell you about why it's important to develop beliefs, why it's important to develop knowledge, and which I think is more important. I think developing beliefs is important because it helps you in any approach that you have towards the world. Your beliefs should underpin nearly any action that you take, and they should inform they inform your values, and those should inform the decisions that you make. Knowledge is important to have because it allows you to actually enact those tasks that you want to, that are based on your beliefs that you develop. Without knowledge of doing something, how can you do it? Have you ever tried to do something that you don't know how to do? How'd it go? Pretty poorly, I would imagine, as it does for me. So knowledge is essential for carrying out tasks. Lastly, if I'm weighing, as this card asked me to do, whether which is more important, developing beliefs or knowledge, I would argue that developing beliefs are more important because they inform the way that you approach the world, whereas knowledge is more of a tool that you use once you've figured out how you want to approach the world.
Nicely done. How do you think that went?
I I think I should have just like said what I was gonna say. I shouldn't have thought about it as much. I felt like I paused a lot as I was trying to figure out what to say. But
Do you guys
I
want to
thought, what was the question?
it was, is it more essential to develop beliefs or gain knowledge?
That's like the deepest question. That's very well answered.
Yeah, I thought that was well done. I think actually I would say I wish you paused longer.
You did.
Because there were times where you were asking the rhetoricals and you paused for a second and then you moved forward, but I think if you just waited a little longer, I think it would have been even stronger.
Because of the nature of the question, it would have made it so much more impactful too. Because it was like, these are like heavy hitting things, right?
But very, very nice use of that would basically be a demo, right? That rhetorical question of bringing the audience in. So really nicely done when you brought that in.
Yeah, I thought that structure was really, really good. And also, like, when you were like, ever try to do something without knowledge? Tell us. How'd it go? Pretty poorly. That was good. I like it.
If I could say one thing, so on your anchoring, I know we taught it in like this way, but I thought you really had like 2 points, right? Like knowledge and then the other part, right? But then it was like, which one is more important? You don't necessarily have to go left or right. It would be like both. So you could just do 1, 2, and then like 3. But yeah, really nicely done.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, next. Halsey. All right, welcome to the stage, Halsey.
That's the instructions card.
Just says name 3 kinds of beer.
You want to do it?
Lager, stout, ale. Okay.
3 things!
I should have anchored those. Oh man, I misread that and thought it was okay. So I want to talk to you guys about something that has bothered me all of my life. When I was young, heights kept me from doing cool ropes courses. It kept me from skydiving. It kept me from going to space or dreaming that I could. When I was in 4th grade, though, I did a ropes course for school, mandatory. I found myself terrified, somehow managed to unhook myself from the harness. I don't even know how I did this. And yet, when I'd done this, I realized that my heart was beating, but I was alive. It wasn't so bad. And so 2 years ago, my girlfriend bought me skydiving tickets. And instead of just burning these, I did it. I strapped myself to this guy, and he dove out of a plane. And I nearly shot myself in flight. However, I didn't. I lived. And when I hit the ground, I realized my heart was beating crazily high, but I was alive. And so this is why I think that space is a frontier into which I could plunge.
I see that. How do you think that went?
I don't know. I'm not sure how whether that anchoring structure worked, but it sort of was a very much when we pull something out here. But I think that it felt like it got more true for me as I started talking.
What did you guys think?
What was the like attempted anchoring in your mind?
It was sort of about like the 3 levels of fear of heights, I guess.
Okay.
It was like a ropes course,
Oh, yeah.
skydiving, space.
So-
Yeah, I think I did. Maybe I didn't anchor that. Make that very clear.
Yeah, I think that showed that like you can have a really good speech, but also if you're gonna try the anchoring, it needs to be somewhat explicit in how you do it. Just because I wouldn't have picked that out as like what the anchors were, but still it was like
Yeah.
engaging speech.
Yeah, I'm remembering that I think I had the thought that I needed to do that, and then I got caught up in like, let me just tell the stories. Yeah.
It's
That's
hard to
good
do on the
feedback.
fly, but
Okay.
I think like to make that even like stronger, right? If you were doing heights, it's like reps course, skydiving, space. So yeah, having that. Yeah, no, really well done. Really well done. I think you're just such a naturally good storyteller that it's always engaging and exciting no matter who's at. So.
Can you should pause next time?
Yeah, well done.
Okay.
All right, Monik. No one clapped for Monik.
Huh?
No one's clapped.
Not surprised.
So I want to talk to you guys about the funniest person I've ever met in my entire life. Actually, it's been YouTube. I can't say this. Hold on. Sorry.
You're gonna say
I can make
Louis
you
CK.
cry.
No, let me just take a new one. I was gonna talk about James for a long time here.
I want 3 things.
So I want to talk to you guys about the biggest lie I told as a child. Okay? So there are 3 components of a lie, I feel. First of all, the act of telling it, how believable it is to the other person, and how much you believe it yourself, right? So let's first talk about the act of telling a lie, right? The act of telling a lie, you're not only misleading the other person, but you're also kind of misleading yourself. And that ties into the second and the third part of the lie. Does the other person believe you? When I was a child, no one ever believed me, but I definitely believed myself. I believed myself when I was telling all sorts of lies about who ate the vegetables and why they happened to be in the trash, but no one ever believed me. So to kind of put all these 3 things together, the act of telling a lie, whether someone believed me or not, and whether I believe myself or not, has to be when I told my mom that my sister pushed me down the stairs. Okay? There's the act of telling the lie. My mom believed me. I don't know why. My sister's a lovely person. And now I even believe the story myself that my sister pushed me down the stairs. Cool. I didn't know where I was going there.
Wow.
I just had no idea where I was
I
going.
think you might have confessed to being a psychopath on YouTube.
How do you think that went?
I had no idea what I was doing when I started. I think that's pretty obvious. And like the whole categories I came up with were pretty BS too. So I don't know. I feel like, do you need to do 3 categories? You can just do like 1 and 2. I feel.
Yeah, you can do 1 and 2, but I mean, it's.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, it's always hard to come up with stuff on the spot, and I mean, I think you did a good job anchoring. When you're trying to remember to say this, and this. I think you picked such a broad topic; it's hard to cover in a minute. But hold on.
Yeah, I like the emotional, like the storytelling you brought in there. I thought those were like good ways of like because when you started, you were like telling a lie, and I was like, okay, what is that really like? And you were like vegetables, like the image of like the vegetables in the trash. And I like that contrast. And I think and with more time, you'd think have been able to like flesh out what those each meant. It was hard to like really dive into each of those 3, like 15 seconds apiece.
I liked your anchoring a lot. Like I was glad that you were consistent, and like each time you referenced one of the categories, you like anchored it, or you went back to that position with your hands.
Cool.
The trick is to feed your dog the vegetables.
You didn't have that. But yeah, good point. Good point. All right.
Nicely done. All right, welcome to the stage, Rob.
You all have ancestors, right? But who's your favorite ancestor that you know of? For me, it's pretty clear. Though I never met this person, I have an ancestor who came over on the Mayflower. And I'd like to meet this person for 3 reasons. 1, what was it like to come over on the Mayflower, to come to the New World? The second reason is, what was it like just to live in that day and age? No iPhones, no televisions, no Twitter or YouTube, no Donald Trump. And then the third reason I'd like to talk to this person is, what is it like to live on a boat for that long? So for one, what is it like to move to a new country, a country that no one's ever been to, or that you know no one, you don't know anyone who's been to that country, and to move there just on faith and belief that it'll be better than wherever you came from. Never done that myself. The second reason, which has to do with living in a day and age where there's none of this modern technology and all the conveniences we have. What kind of focus and ability to just be calm and be by themselves or be with other people, that sort of presence. I'm curious about what that must be like. And then the third reason, about living on a boat. I've pretty much been land dwelling my whole life. What is it like to spend weeks or months at a time rocking on a boat out in the middle of the ocean, no land in sight? What kind of emotions or experiences arise from that? And that's the person, my ancestor, with whom I'd like to speak.
Nicely done. Yeah, how do you think that went?
I guess I got an easier topic than a lot of you guys. So I thought I did a decent job. I wasn't sure if I did a great job of anchoring it, but
What do you guys think?
I thought it was great.
yeah.
I thought you anchored it really well. You went back to the right points.
Mhm.
It was a cohesive story. It was believable.
Did you like my hook at the beginning?
Oh, yeah, that was good.
Good and rolling question.
It's also like a funny question.
Yeah.
It's
Who
engaging.
has ancestors?
Oh, ancestors.
Yeah, but James probably remembers his like from the timelines, right?
From the timeline?
From the timeline.
What?
Is that
Don't
vague?
like China-
Is
it's
that vaguely
This is
racist?
one
It's
big
racist.
ancestor.
Wow.
I'm
It's
not
on
saying
YouTube,
anymore.
man. It's still recorded.
Maybe we can cut
Yeah,
it
this
there.
video better be private.
Yeah, I think I. This one's too far.
Just alienated the Chinese voting base.
Yeah, I like it. I wanted you to grab me more with the difference between now and then. Twitter wasn't getting me emotionally. I wanted more of an emotional hook as far as like the modern convenience is.
I feel like you could do that if you were, like we talked about before, like 15% more energetic than the audience, right? I feel like you're
Gotcha.
matching our energy level. If you were like 15% or a little bit higher, then we might have been a little bit boring.
Right. Yeah, I think I could see that too.
Nicely done. All right, good job, guys. Hopefully you got something out of today's class, and hopefully, don't just, I think you guys are learning enough now where you can bring stuff back in from previous classes, so every time you come up is an opportunity not only to try the new thing, but also bring in the old stuff. But I think you guys are doing a really good job, so really well done.